Welcome back into the House of Mystery. I'm Al Warren, and we've got Peaches here.
I'm back to Peaches.
Yeah, Mr. Peaches, right? Because
Mr.
that's the
Peaches.
horror name you're going to
Yeah, that's
use.
that's gonna be my new my demon character in my next book.
That
Mr.
could be.
Peaches.
That would
Yeah,
work.
yeah.
Mr. Peaches. Have a
It
real
has to
deep
appeal to
voice.
children.
Yeah, yeah, until they get into it, then it's too late. Story of horror. Well, okay, we've got an interesting author with us today, and I know she's got the website up, and she's working on this project, and we're going to talk to her about this. So, Alison McBain, thank you for being here.
Thanks so much for having me. It's great to be here.
Alison, so what's going on in your world? So this whole website is different than your regular writing website, but it's called Author versus AI. So maybe give us the rundown, the premise of what this is all about.
Sure. Well, it all started out with a conversation with a friend, as most good trouble starts out. And we were talking about how AI is sort of on the tip of everyone's tongue these days, especially writers and creators, just because, what is it? Is it going to take over our jobs? Is it going to replace writers? And while we're talking about this, what part of my background is as a ghostwriter. So I tend to write pretty fast, and I can write about 40,000 words a week for clients. And my friend put it together and said, well, why aren't you doing this for yourself? Why not write a book a week for yourself? And it sort of came out of that. And so we combined the two ideas and decided that basically, show that a writer can write almost as fast as AI, but much, much better.
I imagine it wouldn't take much because from what I've seen, it doesn't look very good so far from my experiences. But AI in itself, I guess you had to do research in that and kind of get a grasp of what it is really entailing, like what exactly happens with AI. What are the good things about AI, if there are any?
There are some. It definitely puts together a lot of things that maybe creators wouldn't be thinking about, but I'm actually using no AI in my project. So I don't have a ton of positive things to say about it, except that it makes it more accessible, I guess, to new writers going in when it comes to writing, basically. So when it comes to other tasks, it can be helpful. For example, in the medical field, it has proven to be helpful for diagnoses for patients and has helped doctors out, which is something that is very good in terms of, making the medical field more efficient. But for writers, we're doing it for the love of it. So I don't think that doing something necessarily more efficiently will make better writing.
I'm sort of trying to grasp what, because I hear a lot of stuff out there. I know that some of the other people, I've heard them say things like, well, you can't use AI for anything. It's a bad thing and all this. And then they use it for research. And then I'm thinking, well, if AI is bad, why would you use it any time? And I don't understand because I don't need it and I can still function as a writer. So I'm not sure why. What I'm saying is I don't really find any use for it. Not yet, anyway. No one's told me if there is.
Well, some writers I know do use it for the background. So they might use it to help them write, for example, press releases for their books. It can be somewhat efficient for some of the background material being a writer. I'm like you, though. I don't use it at all. I would much prefer to come up with everything myself.
Yeah, no, it's for me. I just don't understand why I would use it. Do you know what I'm saying? I just sit there and function and I don't need it. I guess it sounds good in the sense of press release. That sounds kind of fun. Makes things easier than sitting down and writing it up yourself, I guess.
I think it's such a tricky place to be right now for creators because I think there is such animosity towards AI that using it on any level, if you're open about that, can lead to, being kind of piled upon on the internet saying like, well, if you're using it for your, the back of the book blurb, or if you're using it for your press release, how do we know you're not using it for your dialogue or blah, blah, blah?
And I guess that's the question. But I think that how it stands now, I don't know. Well, for me anyway, it's not really anything necessary. But because I don't trust it for research either. Like, I guess people are using it for that, and I'm still skeptical. I still belong to the newspaper groups, and I still go through and look myself in the papers and stuff.
Well, it has come back and brought some false information back to people. I believe there was, and I don't know the specifics of the case, there was a lawyer who used it to do research for a case, and it came back, I think this was ChatGPT, came back with some fake names of cases. So it got the lawyer in a lot of trouble. So what you pull back from these AI programs isn't necessarily true, which is sort of scary when you're trying to do research for a book that you want based on actual fact, like a historical fiction novel.
And that's sort of my problem with it. I don't know if I could rely on it. I would still double check. You know what I mean? Like, if I went to this AI and said, okay, well, tell me about 1920 and this city and whatever, it might tell me stuff, but I still wouldn't feel comfortable. I would want to go through the newspapers and do my typical research thing that I do, because I don't know if I'd feel comfortable. Maybe in time I would. I don't know. But as it stands now, it seems a little bit too questionable. So I don't know. Maybe I'm right. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
So when I first heard about this project, I feel like my jaw hit the floor. I'm like, a book a week seems so insane and amazing. So you said you write fast for your clients. So I'm assuming with ghostwriting, you've written in a lot of different genres. Am I correct in thinking that?
Yep, that is correct. I've done everything from thriller to fantasy. Romance is a big one. Literary. So I've covered a lot in my ghostwriting.
So in this project, are you going to stick to one genre? Because I read your blog and I saw that you were writing some fantasy series. Or do you think you're going to stick with fantasy the whole time, or just see where things take you?
Oh, definitely not. I am trying to hit pretty much every genre that I could think of. So everything from science fiction, historical, mystery, romance, fantasy, horror, YA. So basically I put together a whole list and a list of all subgenres and try to cover as many as I possibly could. I'm sure I forgot one or two, but maybe that's for next year.
Do you have your whole year planned out? Like, do you know, like, oh, in mid-July, I'm going to switch to, YA horror, or is it just going to like be based on your mood and you have ideas already? Like, I can't fathom this project. Like, my brain doesn't work that way. So I want to know, how are you doing this?
Yes and no. It did take a lot of preparation. So basically, before the project started, I had all my synopses written out, my chapter by chapter outlines, my character sketches, even some photographs that I pulled off the web to just have, ideas of what the characters look like, things like that. So I had, files for each of these books already prepared. I didn't write a single word yet, but I had everything ready to go. So when I'm actually writing, or what I'm actually writing each week, that I left up in the air. So I'm doing that by feel. So basically my first week was a YA horror, and that was sort of heavy and dense and dark. So the next week I'm like, okay, I'm going to jump into a comedic novel. I'm going to do a fantasy caper. So I just, whatever I'm feeling like on Monday, that's the one that I pick.
How long did all of this prep work take before the project started? Like, I know you said, oh, it took a long time, but I feel like your definition of a long time is different than my definition of a long time, because I've never written a book in a week.
Yeah, well, it took a few months. The project, I initially came up with it maybe July of last year. So a lot of it was getting all the, puzzle pieces together and making sure that I could do this, and, juggling clients, and figuring out how I could do that. So yeah, maybe a couple months to put together all the background pieces, the summaries and the outlines and things like that.
What are you hoping to get out of this? Like, in the fact of, like, you're doing it, what is it you want people to get from this project you're doing?
I think The number one thing is inspiration. So a lot of writers I talked to before I started this project, they were very down about AI. If you remember the whole, writer's strike in Hollywood, and everyone was like, oh, why should I even write anymore? Why should I write a book? Especially new writers. Why should I get into the writing field? It's just going to be more competitive. Half of it's going to be AI. Why should I do this? And that helped spark this idea, because as soon as I started talking to people about, hey, why don't I do this huge project and bring a lot of attention to actual writers, human writers, not artificial writers, they're like, you know what? Maybe I'll try doing that too. Maybe it's not a dead industry anymore. Like maybe I can actually get into it. So yeah, inspiration, talking, opening the conversation about it. I think all of those are worthwhile.
What do you think you've learned from this, taking on the project and doing it?
Basically, that I always take on these humongous projects, and no matter how prepared you are, you're never prepared when you actually jump in.
Well, yeah, it's crazy. Tell us exactly how many are you going to write? Like, what's this project entail overall from beginning to end?
Sure, it's 52 books total, and the last book might be one of the most interesting ones. The rest of them are mostly fiction of different genres. There's a couple short story collections that I was thinking of throwing in there too. But the last one is actually going to be the one nonfiction book of the whole project, and that's going to be a how-to. So that's going to sort of go through my whole process of organizing this, and how to actually do it yourself, how to write a book in a week. Not that I think maybe a ton of people are going to take me up on that, but it might be sort of interesting to sort of outline the whole year and have people see how it's done.
And how big is each book?
Well, the only definition of book is 40,000 words and above. So some of them will be longer just based on genre, based on, how much time I have or how into the project I am. So some of them, like the fantasy ones, will probably be much longer than the ones that I'm working on right now. But yeah, so anywhere from exactly 40,000 words if it's a tough week, all the way up to maybe 70,000 or 80,000 words.
Each week you're writing all of this. Are you editing at the same time, or are we considering this one rough draft by the end of the week? Or is this a polished thing?
Yes and no. So I am also an editor, a professional editor. I've worked with a number of clients. So I sort of self-edit as I go. Does that mean the draft is perfect? Heck no. It's definitely not. It will definitely need editing before publishing. But I would call it a fairly polished first draft.
I know. I'm still just like, this is incredible. Are you, and I'm assuming you're planning to publish all 52 of these. Is this going to be happening as you go? How long is the process in between the end and when that book comes out?
It definitely depends. So I did have some conversations with some publishers who are interested in taking on some of these books. But I'm thinking that's going to be part of step 2 of the process, because that would scare me, trying to get all these books published at the exact same time I'm writing them. I think that would be an impossible task. But yeah, so there will be more about that probably next year, as they start to come out. And of course, not all 52 will be published in 1 year. That would be sort of silly, but yeah, over the next few years, I'm sure they'll be coming out and people will be able to read them.
So when you're writing stories like this on the go so quick, what is it like for you? Like, you see, because most writers, when you talk to them, right, they'll talk about characters and they'll talk about developing them and getting into them and hearing them and seeing them and doing the reactions from one to another and all that stuff. Can you still go through all those experiences within a week?
Definitely. I live in my worlds. I am immersed in my characters and in the world. And My kids joke that I am fairly absent-minded when I'm in one of these projects because they will be talking to me for, I don't know, a couple of minutes, and then they'll finally say, what are you saying? So yes, I do live in the world quite significantly for each new project, which, is a fun thing to do. I like to joke that I don't travel that much, but I travel every single day, and the plane ticket is a lot cheaper.
So what is your daily schedule? Because I'm assuming you're doing this project and this is something you're doing for you, but you still have clients, you still have editing clients, ghostwriting clients. What is your average day like? Like how long does it take you to write, 5,000 words in a day or 10,000 if you're doing a ghostwritten client as well?
Well, my writing speed is about 1,000 to 2,000 words an hour. 2,000 is pushing it. Usually I'm about 1,000 to 1,500 an hour. So depending on what deadlines I have, I might split up the day, sort of, the morning for my clients, the afternoons for me. Or sometimes, I'll just take the whole day for myself and just knock out 10,000, 15,000 words.
Well, what's your relationship with the word? And I mean that, and so when you're doing that many words per day and all that stuff, and it's not just once, you're just continuously doing this, like even when you're ghostwriting, when you're doing that kind of production, do you still have a relationship with what you're writing the same as if you were writing, your own story a long time compared to ghostwriting?
I think so. I think I do. So the way I write, I'm a visual writer. So I see the stories in my head, like a movie playing. So basically it's just making sure that I can get that down onto the page. So whether I'm working on my own stuff, whether I'm working for a client, obviously for a client, my voice has to be what they want. So depending on the genre, it could be something super dark or super fluffy or very serious. But I do the same for my own work. So I'll change the voice depending on what I'm writing. I don't have an end to that sentence. So
I was going to say, so
you're out of words.
I'm out of words.
You're
yes.
insane. So I'm insane. You could just do that.
Yes. I'm crazy.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite genre? Like you say you write in all of them. Like, so do you have a favorite child?
I know, it is like picking a kid, right? It depends. So depending on my mood, like there might be a genre that I like better than others. My comfort genre is probably fantasy. That's where I started reading when I was young, and that was my first book that ever got published. So that's really my go-to. So if I'm looking for something fast and easy to write, I would probably choose fantasy over others. But all of them, man, I just have so much fun switching. Like if I was stuck in one genre for the rest of my life, it would probably be fantasy, but I might get bored because I love to be able to switch to different voices, different tones, different backgrounds. Sometimes I don't always feel like being magical. Sometimes I want to go murder someone, in a mystery.
Oh, don't we all?
Yeah.
Oh, Alison, you're speaking our language.
Exactly, right? So sometimes you just, gotta kill someone.
Well, how did you get into this, like the ghostwriting part of it? Like what, because I don't see most writers, I mean, most writers I know don't just wake up and, at 13, let's say, and go, I want to write 40,000 words a week and write ghost story or write other people's stories and do all this stuff. Like, or did you? I don't know. Maybe you did.
I didn't start out that way. So it sort of came about through my editing work. So I work for various clients, editing their books, which they take on to publication. So I was working for some clients and they were like, okay, these are fantastic edits, the best edits ever. These are great. Can you fix this for me? So I was like, sure, why not? Let me give that a try. So it sort of grew out of that. And it's fun. It's fun to take on these different voices. And I think probably if I did not have that ghostwriting experience, I probably would not have conceived of a project like this. So to me, everything sort of falls into place. It's sort of stepping stones to the next.
So do you drink a lot, or do you coffee? Or...
I know. I was going to ask if you're snorting Adderall.
Yeah, like what's kind of what keeps you going? Because I mean, like any of us here, you got to have good days, bad days, days where you're tired, you couldn't sleep, or you had, you know what I mean? Like what keeps that energy going? Because under this pace, it sounds like you got to get up and do it. Like you can't just get up and go, well, I'll do it next week. I'm just not into it, right? What is it for you? Is it the Adderall?
Well, I actually, this might shock you. I actually do not drink coffee at all, or caffeine.
Imagine if you did.
I know, right?
I feel like during this interview, Allison's going to let it slide that she is like not.
Yeah, she's really
just so you know.
She's the first AI robot here.
Yeah.
Like,
I've been a robot the entire time.
Yeah, what keeps me going is the writing, actually, because while I love to help other people, I love to be an editor. I run my own small press and also publish a literary magazine. All of those are great, and I love helping other writers. But for me, a lot of that takes away from my own writing time. So doing a project like this is sort of its own reward for me, because I'm like, okay, I'm giving myself permission to just write. And it's awesome. And write for myself. It's pretty fantastic to just be able to give voice to all these stories that have been bouncing around in my brain for the past 10 years and never made it to the page because I didn't have time. So, to me, that's what gets me up in the morning.
are you living in like one of those clinic hospitals that they keep you they put food through the door or something like that?
Oh man, I would love that if someone else cooked the meals.
Yeah. Well, so do you ever get something that you write, like, because you're doing all this stuff, like, right? Do you ever have time to sit there and go, oh, I don't like this? Like, do you ever write and then the week's on, you get on to the next one, and do you read your stuff later and kind of go, oh, I shouldn't do this or change this? Because, quite often writers will be, they'll do things, and even when it gets to a point, they'll go back and look at it, even after they publish it, and go, oh, I would do it this way now. Do you ever kind of go back on your own work?
I try not to go back, except if I'm doing edits. I feel like I've probably written enough words at this point that I sort of stop myself, hopefully, before I do something too terrible and that leads me too far off the track. But yeah, I mean, we all write stuff that we don't like as much along the way. So yeah, there are definitely some things where I look back at it and think, oh man, why did someone publish this?
Yeah, well, yeah.
I think we all have that.
We all have that,
like,
yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, because we change, we develop, we change, we grow, right? Hopefully. And it's just I find it wow. I'm just trying to get into how you feel about what you do compared to an average writer that does one book a year. What's it like? Wow. That's just
This is making me feel very lazy.
yeah, get to work. You should be writing right now.
I know. I was just like, I should definitely pull out a notebook and just do like 1,000 words.
Yeah, you should have 2 books going right now.
I should have 2 books out by the end of the show.
Yeah.
You can.
Like, get to work. Yeah, get to work. Get on there. You should be
Allison's
typing.
like, I'm typing on another computer right now.
Yeah. Well, so what do you think? Do you think that AI will ever catch up to humans enough to that it will take writing on or take it over? I mean, because I right now, I don't see it. I don't think it is right now. Do you know what I'm saying? I don't think it can. I don't think it does a good job from what my short run in with it. What do you see it getting much better then, or?
I do. And just from technology trends, if you look at, for example, my daughter was watching the original Alien movies, and instead of being horrified, she was laughing because she's like, I can see the string. Like, this is just a puppet, like, because horror has gotten so much better and the CG and everything has made it seamless so that it looks like whatever is created on the screen looks like it's really there. So I feel like the same will happen with AI, and just because it's, fairly new right now, it still is very not, it's not good. It's not good right now, but
Right.
it's going to keep on getting better. So we can't really put the cat back in the bag. It's going to develop and it's going to compete eventually. But it's also like, for example, I love food. I'm a foodie. So I'm not always going to be going to the grocery store to get a frozen dinner, for example. You still go to restaurants, even though you can get similar food at the grocery store, you cook it at home yourself, you're still going to go out to a restaurant. You're still going to want to have someone else cook that gourmet meal for you. So similarly, writers, there will always be a place for writers because people will still want that human experience, I feel.
Yeah, I was just thinking, if your daughter's laughing at Alien, what would she do if she saw Frankenstein from 100 years ago?
She probably wouldn't even watch it.
Yeah, sure.
I
What
would
is
have
this?
no concept. They're like, what is this? What am I seeing?
What is black and
Why
white?
is it? Why is it black and white? Is there something wrong with the screen?
Yeah. So what kind of writing do you do normally for yourself other than ghostwriting, or do you?
Well, I have a few books out. Fantasy, alternate history, romance, are the genres that I have out there published. I like to tackle anything. So I have a lot of short stories, a lot of poems published. I do nonfiction articles about writing. So pretty much whatever strikes my fancy, I'm willing to write about.
Wow. Do you have a favorite? Is there something that you feel you're more natural at than the others?
Well, fantasy, but also I'm an optimist. You might have guessed by my taking on this project.
Yeah.
So I also love romance. It can be cheesy, it can be schlocky, but I love a happy ending. You know, on the flip side, I also like horror and mystery where it's like, oh, well, there's a dead body on the ground. So
Depending on the body, that can be a happy ending too.
that can be, you know, maybe they deserve to die.
Could be a really good ending then.
Yeah, it could be very satisfying. Do you have a genre that you won't touch?
Oh, geez, that's a tough question. I don't know. So far, no.
For the right price, you'll write anything.
Yeah,
this
yeah,
is
pretty
what we're
much.
hearing.
Yeah.
Wow. So anybody can come to you at any time and say, I want a book written on this story, and you'll do it.
Yeah, I would be happy to. There are some that I'd like less, perhaps, and so I'm more likely, especially if my schedule's full as it is right now, I'm more likely to say no. But again, if someone challenges me with something that perhaps I'm not as familiar with or I haven't done as much in, I'm more likely to say yes because I love the challenge. I love doing the research. I love learning new things. And that's honestly half of writing is learning new things.
Well, geez, what can I say? So let's talk about how people can find out more about you and more about your Versus AI project. Where do people find you?
Sure. I have my regular author website, which is AlisonMcBain.com. And for this project, I have a special website set up called authorversusai.com. And both of those have all my social media links. So if you want to go see the silly TikTok videos that I made, it's all there. You can find it.
Wow. Do you fight with AI on TikTok? Is that?
Well, I don't. I'm actually not. I'm a very newbie to TikTok. So what I'm putting on there probably is regular TikTokers will be like, what is she doing? She knows nothing. But
Where's the dance number?
I am not dancing on TikTok. I must say that.
Yeah. Well, just get your dog on there and smile.
Exactly.
I don't know. It's all crazy. Well, so do you want anything from people, as in, do you want people to follow up on your project? Do you want them to do the same thing? Kind of, is that what you're hoping others will do?
I would love it. I've already had several authors reach out and say, you know what, I'm not going to write 52 books in a year, but I will try writing a book in a week. So yeah, jump on over to my website, follow along, feel free to say, hey, I'm going to try it this week. And I will be happy to cheer you on. Yeah, I would love for people to tackle it themselves if they would like to.
Wow. Well, there you go. Well, we'll have all your information up on our website as well. And we appreciate you coming by and talking about your newest project, Author versus AI. Alison McBain, thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you so much. And congratulations on this whole daunting
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. It's been lovely.
This has been a production of the House of Mystery Radio Show. To find out more about our show, guests, or hosts, go to our website at houseofmysteryradio.com.